Hey everyone, it's Lindsay here checking in from Rome. It has absolutely been pouring buckets the past couple of days, so I'm just having an at-home chill day, catching up on some reading and writing, and I wanted to take some time to address a question I recently got asked on Facebook about, is travel affordable? And I had to put some thought into it because it is a very, very loaded question and it has a variety of answers. So I'm going to address it from the things that I've experienced in my travels so far and be very candid about how much money I left with and also how much money I've made and spent and all that good stuff and kind of how I've been traveling. Because I know a lot of people look either at my Facebook feed and like, oh, you're living the dream. I wish I could do that. And I used to think that a couple years ago. This has been my #1 dream since high school or even before that. I was always like, oh, I want to travel the world. But, you know, I did the whole thing of going to college and then went to grad school and was all focused on building my career and felt like that's what I had to do. But now that I'm actually doing my whole travel dream, it's been definitely a journey, and I want to inspire other people to fulfill their dream if they want to travel and show that it can be possible. So I think the first thing that I want to address, and it is travel affordable thing, is it can be. And I think it all depends on what kind of trip that you want to take. There's a lot of questions you have to ask in regards to where you want to go, how long you want to go for, your method of travel, like if you want to be staying in hotels or if you want to be volunteering and living with a family. So those are kind of things that you need to think about. I know personally for me, I always knew that when I left the United States, it was a one-way ticket kind of deal. And it was a very open-ended trip. I don't really have a time limit. So I've been allowed the opportunity to take my time, which has really, really cut back on my expenses. Now, let me backtrack a couple of minutes because there was a lot of things leading up to me traveling. I, sold everything in California, moved back, and actually slept on an air mattress at my mom's house for 8 months. Thanks, Mom, by the way. But, it wasn't the most ideal situation, but there were certain things that I did so that I could save money. But I was also in a position where I was really digging myself out of debt from when I quit my job. So I was paying off debt and trying to save, and an opportunity came that I could go and travel with my friend's band in Europe. Now, in my mind, I was always thinking I would be in Thailand or somewhere in Southeast Asia, but the opportunity came up and I said, absolutely. I felt like it was a safe first step for me. So I went ahead and did it. But the thing was that it really sped up my timeline a lot. So when I left the United States, I wasn't nearly anywhere near where I felt like I should be financially because I read a bunch of blogs and they're like, oh, save 10 grand, save 20 grand. And in my mind, I'm like, holy shit, how am I supposed to do this while also paying off debt? I would feel very discouraged. So when I actually left the United States, I paid $500 for a one-way ticket to London, and then I only had about $3,000 in my bank account. So you can imagine in my head that after 3 weeks with the band, I had no idea what I was going to do, but I just was like, you know what, I'll figure it out. I had driven cross country with kind of the same plan of not really knowing, and I've done it on a budget, and really enjoyed myself and met some amazing people. So I just kind of said, you know what? I'll just let it be and I'll figure it out. So fast forward 9.5 months. I've been to 7 countries. I've been on like 9 different flights, a variety of different experiences. It just have been amazing. But I've really only spent around $4,500 in those 9.5 months, which to me, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like my life in California, that would have lasted me like a month and a half between paying rent and car insurance and cell phone. So I don't have any expenses whatsoever, except sometimes, feeding myself. And then I do have a credit card that I use to book my flights that I, pay off and that kind of stuff to earn points. But I'm not really super into travel hacking, which that's a whole other topic. That's a way that you can also save money to travel. But I'll just kind of go off of what I've learned. So the way that I've been traveling is through a website called Workaway. And what it is it's a work exchange. So you email families and you can either I've taught English or worked in a hostel. I'm going to a bed and breakfast, and it's usually a few hours of work in exchange for a place to stay and food. So I'm right now living with a family. I help them maybe 2 to 3 hours in the evening just speaking English and helping their son speak English. And in return, I have my own bedroom downstairs, my own bathroom, and it's a nice, villa in this private estate. Should be like a 20-minute train ride to Rome. So it's a really great way to connect, because I was all about wanting to really experience a culture and build relationships while I travel. So there's been times where it's been like, oh, I wish I could travel faster. But I actually had this conversation the other day with another travel friend saying, what would you do if you were to just get, let's say, $100,000 tomorrow? And I was thinking about this, and I said, I think I would still travel in the same way. Like, yeah, maybe I would, treat myself out to dinners more often, or travel maybe a tiny bit faster, or maybe not wear the same clothes that are falling apart. But I would still want to travel in the same way, because that's what's like authentic to me. Yet I've had other people email me and say, I'd love to do what you're doing, but like I could never be without my all-inclusive resorts. And that's fantastic. Like, you have to be true to the kind of travel that you want to do. No travel is better than another. You're only going to be happy with the travel if it's exactly what's in your heart. Because I feel like if some people come and they're living with families and having to share stuff and all this kind of crap, they're going to be like, oh my God, this is so awkward. Whereas to somebody like me, like, I tend to enjoy that. So that's the biggest way I've been able to save money is by volunteering and kind of doing that work exchange. So the big buzzword kind of out there that I hear a lot is the sharing community, which there's a lot of websites dedicated to this concept. And it's pretty much that the concept is that, if you have a house or a car or skills, you trade it and you share it with other people, usually for free or a very minimal fee. So I'll link up the websites that I know about that I would recommend, such as the one I already mentioned, which is Workaway. There's couchsurfing.com, which is a great community that you can meet people or stay one night. I've used it in London, and I also used it to meet people when I was in Tenerife. So that's great. There's also Airbnb, which is more of like a private room that you pay a small fee for. And then there's also house sharing, that if you have a house, or it's usually you can't do it with an apartment, but if your landlord lets you, you can exchange and go live in their house and they can come live in your house. So the family I'm actually, that I met along my journey, they've done that before, and they have kids and all that kind of stuff. So there's those. And then in terms of transportation, there's in Europe, there's BlaBlaCar. There's a lot of those ride sharing programs. So that's the kind of stuff that you can look into while you're traveling to cut back on expenses. So I also say is find an inspiration. Like, I'm a young, relatively single girl that doesn't have much responsibilities. I just have to worry about myself. So if you have a family and kids, you might not be able to relate to my path, but there's people out there doing it. So search the internet. There's so many blogs and like videos and all that kind of good stuff. And like, don't think that your situation's so unique that you can't live your travel dream if that's what you want to do. And a lot of it too, and I used to be caught in it, is just in the United States, we notoriously just don't take long vacations because we don't get the time off of work. So if you only have that week or two and you want to make the most of it, you can do like a home exchange and that kind of stuff. Or even, there's a lot of people that do the volunteering for a week as well. So you can check that out. But also too, it never hurts to ask. Try to bargain and do some remote work if you can. Maybe that you don't have to show up to the office every day. I was never really in a situation. I was a director of a school for 5 years. Like, my butt had to be in that school 5 days a week. There was no way I could work from home. But if you work a type of job where you can work remotely, try to negotiate that kind of arrangement. A really great book to read about doing that and kind of having to dial back on your work is The 4-Hour Workweek by Tim Ferris. I've read it a couple times. One of my goals that I'm going to put it out there is that I've been wanting, and one of my goals while traveling is to develop an online type of business to keep fueling my travel. So I want something that I don't need to be location specific. I can just work from wherever I want. There's so many people out there doing it, so I believe I can do it as well. It's just a matter of doing it. So what other thoughts do I have on is travel affordable? I would say also, you know, I can't express enough that you just really need to do it. Like, I just know that sounds so cliche, and if I were to rewind 5 to 10 years ago and tell myself, I would just say, just buy the freaking ticket and go. You know, no matter how much planning you do, shit's gonna happen, things are gonna go wrong, you might miss a flight, you might do this, you might do that. I've been pretty fortunate where I really haven't had any really negative travel experiences. I've met some creepy people along the way that you kind of just have to brush off. But all the people that I've stayed with, I've just met so many generous, amazing, kind, loving people that have become a part of my journey or inspired me to do more or be more. So it's just, there's a lot of great people out there. So don't be afraid, is I guess what I'm trying to say, of different cultures or different people. It's been my first experience living in a country where I still, every night where I live, I don't understand what they're saying usually around the dinner table. And I'm fine with that. It's very humbling, especially from like a super communicator like me who wants to talk to everybody and know everybody's story. But it's a great experience. So I would say to get started, I've written a couple articles about kind of how to save money and dial back on your life. But I think the number one thing is that I didn't realize at the time that I was doing, but I've been doing for years, is just reading and educating myself about travel. There's a great blog from Nomadic Matt that I read, but it was always a catch-22 because part of me felt like, oh, okay, I can make this happen, but then there would be very, very specific advice from people, which like save X amount of money. And I'll be honest with you, I don't really believe in it. I left with $3,000 and have made it work. And then there's people that have done it on far less money and far more money. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you there's some magic number. You do have to have the super ambition to make it happen, though, and the belief that, you know, you're capable of figuring it out and going along on your journey. So I hope this helped a little bit. I know I didn't give specific numbers and figures in terms of how much money you would need or do this or do that, but I think the main thing is I just want to inspire people that there is a possibility of travel for anybody, whether, you know, you're old, you're young, you have kids, you're single, whatever it may be, that it is a possibility. So get out there, start doing some research, start inspiring yourself. I'm a big fan of vision boards and vision books. I travel with one to kind of keep me focused on what I'm after for in my life. And pretty much, if you don't know what that is, what a vision board or book is, it's just simply a wall or a piece of paper that has pictures of what you want in your life on it to kind of keep you motivated and keep you going. So research and start looking into what's going to make sense for your travel. And I think that is about it. That was a big, long rambling. I'm looking at the time and I'm like, oh, it's 13 minutes. But if you have any very specific questions, feel free to message me and I'll answer them in a more direct manner. But I just wanted to kind of touch on my thoughts of, is travel affordable? Because it absolutely can be, and it's truly, without sounding too like, oh, la-di-da, it is such a gift that you give to yourself in regards to life experience and learning and the crazy memories that you make and the people that you meet. So if anybody needs that inspiration or wants to say X, Y, or Z, feel free to message me. One thing I am very rich on currently in my life is time. So I used to be so time poor in regards to having to work and being exhausted, but now it's like I'm so time rich that I have the time to kind of choose how I want to spend my day and what I want to do and all that good stuff. And travel's afforded that for me. And I feel the more I fulfill my dream of travel, the more inspired I become to fulfill my entrepreneurial goals and, you know, really create the life that I want. I don't feel you know, as stifled as I used to, trying to be an employee, which I 100% am just not designed to be. I'm designed to be on my own path, and if you are too, then go for it. All right, I will check out now, and I'm gonna go relax some more since it's still pouring rain here in Rome. But travel on, everybody. Enjoy. Bye. Ciao, ciao, as the Italians would say. Ciao.